Welcome to the Oregon Department of Education Child Nutrition Programs training on racial and ethnic data collection. This is part of civil rights requirements for the Child and Adult Care Food Program, or CACFP sponsors, and Summer Food Service Program, or SFSP sponsors. This training was updated in January 2023. What is racial and ethnic data? It is demographic information that is collected based on two categories: ethnicity and race. Federal categories for ethnicity include Hispanic or Latino and not Hispanic or Latino. Categories for race include American Indian or Alaska Native, Asian, Black or African American, Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander, and white. Who is required to collect this data? All child nutrition program sponsors are required to collect and maintain data annually per site. The data does not need to be submitted to ODE. However, data will be checked during administrative reviews. Why do sponsors have to collect this data? Data collection is a requirement of FNS 113-1, Section 12. Data collected is used to determine compliance with federal civil rights laws and may be used to determine how effective programs are at reaching potentially eligible participants. Data must be collected using specific forms, depending on the program you serve. Sponsors of the CACFP must use the Racial Ethnic Annual Data Collection Form as seen on the screen. This can be downloaded from the ODE CMP Civil Rights page. Sponsors of the SFSP must use the Racial and Ethnic Data Form that is attached to the sponsor's 4th week monitoring review form. This can be downloaded from the ODE CMP SFSP page. Both pages are linked in the description section below. To complete the CACFP Racial and Ethnic Data Form, sponsors must complete the entire form, including sponsor, site, sponsor staff who completed the form, and date in the blanks at the top of the form. Then, using the census.gov link, enter the census percentage by county for each racial and ethnic category in the table. Then enter the number of participants that match the ethnic and racial categories who are enrolled in CACFP at the site. A form must be completed for each site on CACFP annually. To complete the SFSP Racial and Ethnic Data Form, sponsor monitoring staff must fill out all sections on the form. It is recommended that monitoring staff complete the form during the monitoring review, but it may be collected at a different date. Unlike the CACFP form, no census or population data is required. Sponsors must enter the number of participating children who match the ethnic and racial categories. The monitor must sign and date the form. One form must be completed for each site. However, sponsors with campsites must complete a form for each camp session. How data is collected will be dependent on the type of site you have. For enrolled sites, ODE CNP recommends that data is collected through enrollment or income eligibility forms. If the information is not available through these forms, an alternative option is to provide a parent or guardian survey of racial and ethnic data. Paper or online forms are preferred since it allows for more discretion. However, verbal survey of parents or guardians is allowed if necessary. Non-enrolled sites are sites that allow open access to the public where you may not have the same participants from day to day. These are often open SFSP sites or CACFP at-risk after-school sites that serve at an open campus. For these types of sites, it is recommended to collect data through parent or guardian surveys. Paper surveys may not be practical for an open access site since it may be hard to get documents returned. Sponsors can also verbally survey parents and or guardians of participants if they are available. If it is not possible to collect parent or guardian surveys, data may be collected through an aggregate data source, that are available for the site. Aggregate data sources can include school data and microdata that may be available from the U.S. Census. Note that providing racial and ethnic data is optional for participants. If participants, or their families, choose not to provide this data, sponsors cannot require them to provide it. In addition, sponsors may not change data that is provided by a participant or family. Children should not be surveyed, since the questions may be confusing, especially for younger children. And, as of May 2021, visual identification is not allowed to determine race or ethnicity, since it may not be a reliable means to capture how participants self-identify. In situations where a participant or their parent or guardian declines to provide racial and ethnic data, sponsors can mark participants as unknown and write the number who fall in the unknown category on the correct form for their program. Please note, sponsors must attempt to collect the required data and cannot simply mark everyone as unknown. All racial and ethnic data records must be kept for 3 years plus the current fiscal year. Because this information is sensitive, all records must be saved in a secure location that is not easily accessible by people who have no need to know this information. This can include a locked room, a locked drawer, or a location on the server that is only accessible for staff who work with this information. A common question is, what are some forms of aggregate data that can be used to document participant data in a non-enrolled site? There are several different resources for aggregate data. School sites may have access to school databases that are collected by the school. There is also data available from the National Center for Education Statistics, also known as NCES, Common Core of Data by School. For non-school sites, the Census American Community Survey, or ACS, includes data on racial and ethnic data by census tract or census block. It can also break down by age category, including a 0 to 5 age group category that may be helpful for childcare settings. The ACS microdata set also includes data for some specific housing units, which may be helpful for SFSP and CACFP sites located within a public housing unit. All links to the ACS and NCES are available at the description section below. Another common question relates to surveying families. Surveying parents may feel uncomfortable for both staff and families. Is there any way to make it less awkward? We know that racial and ethnic surveys may be uncomfortable, especially when they are standalone surveys. If you need to take a parent or guardian survey, take care to provide dignity and respect by reassuring families that data does not affect eligibility and is used for statistical purposes only. That families are allowed to opt out, and that sharing is voluntary without any names attached to the data. And it can be helpful to be discreet. Paper and online surveys should be used when possible so parents and guardians can complete the form in a private setting, if they choose not to do so in front of others. Or if a paper survey is not an option, find a less crowded environment to ask the questions. Now it's time for a knowledge check. How often does racial and ethnic data need to be collected? Is it once a month, once a quarter, once a year, or once every 3 years? The answer is once a year. Please note that SFSP sponsors with campsites must collect racial and ethnic data for each camp session at the site. Here is our second knowledge check. If I am not able to get racial and ethnic data from my parents and guardians, I can use visual identification to determine a participant's racial and ethnic background. Is this true or false? The answer is false. Visual identification is not allowed. When parents and guardians decline to provide information, you can mark the participant as unknown. Please note that sponsors cannot mark all participants as unknown. For more information, refer to the USDA memo CACFP 11-2021, also known as SFSP 7-2021. If you have additional questions regarding racial and ethnic data collection, please reach out to your assigned child nutrition specialist. ODE supports equity and excellence for every learner and seeks to work with school districts, education service districts, and community partners like you. We believe all children should have access to a high-quality, well-rounded learning experience. This institution is an equal opportunity provider.